Hey there, this is the One Boom, and today I thought I would make a short video talking about gameplay mechanics and how sometimes less is more. I'm calling them game mechanics, but you could also call them gimmicks or features, but I'm just going to, for the broad term, I'm going to call them game mechanics, okay? Recently my friends and I were playing the new, I guess not new anymore, but the Friday the 13th video game that is now free with gold on Xbox Live, and I recommend that you pick it up if you have an Xbox Live Gold account. If you have a group of friends, there's definitely some fun to be had in this game, there's no doubt about that, but there's a reason I don't like it very much. Now I've had fun in it with my friends, but mostly because I was playing with my friends. I didn't really enjoy the game itself. You might think it's because of facial animations, or character animations in general, or the soundscape, or the graphics, or the frame rate, or the performance, and really none of that. In an asymmetrical game, where I need to chase my friends as a slasher or serial killer, I feel like this game misses a lot of the mark by giving Jason too many abilities, gimmicks, features, but game mechanics. You can pinpoint an area on an overhead map and teleport to it. You can fly around as a ghostly specter and then appear right in front of somebody. You can make the people you're chasing glow red like a claymore while using the engineer perk in Call of Duty, and also make the buildings they're in glow like a bright red beacon. The only ability I've played with on Jason that I thought was interesting was the ability to make yourself go pretty much undetectable by cutting off all of the sound and shit. It's really funny to chase my friends, the music starts to amp up, which we'll get to in a second. The music begins to amp up, to let them know that I'm near, and then I activate that and the music goes away, and they think that I just passed them, when really I'm actually, closing in on them. That's an interesting mechanic. What's not an interesting mechanic is the ability to teleport, and this is one of the things that takes me out of the game entirely. It takes all of the thrill out of hunting your friends, and it makes being hunted feel more in balance than it already should. I much prefer playing a slasher mode, like a Michael Myers type game mode, in a Call of Duty or Rainbow Six or Halo private match than this. And the reason being is because competitive shooters are trying to give you as much control over your character as possible. They might not all allow you to, jump or lean or prone or whatever, but competitive FPS games try to give you as much control over your character as possible, because if you had to fight a ton of hindrances all the time, it would be incredibly frustrating. Again, we'll get to that in a second. But we're gonna go back to talking about the music that swells up when Jason gets near you. This takes away a lot of the tension of not knowing where Jason is. It adds more tension to an already tense moment, I guess you could say. Everything goes from quiet to very loud and boisterous, letting you know that danger is near. But you already know that danger is near, and this just makes it harder to sneak up as Jason, which is the only reason I like the ability that makes me completely quiet. If I'm playing a Call of Duty private match and I'm chasing my friends around with a knife, they're not listening for a drastic shift in music, they're listening for footstep sounds, they're listening for the sound of my tack insert, for instance. I don't know, but they're listening for footsteps on metal versus footsteps on leaves, they're listening for footsteps on wood versus none at all. The game doesn't tell you where to be tense, you are just tense all the time because I could be anywhere. Also, when it comes to hunting people, it's not fun to teleport in front of them, and it's not fun to beam around the map. Now, beaming around the map and being able to teleport to a specific location isn't terrible, but it takes a lot of the fun away from hunting your prey, and I know that sounds morbid, but it's an asymmetrical game where I'm chasing somebody around with an axe. I'm not really nervous about being morbid here. Part of the fun in doing this in a game like Call of Duty is that I have to actually look for them and listen for them. I have to hear footsteps, I have to hear in Modern Warfare, like when we do like slasher modes in Modern Warfare, I'm gonna listen for doors opening and closing, I'm gonna listen for night vision goggles turning off and on. I might use a heartbeat sensor and have to follow a little dot in the tablet in my left hand, or use the tracker perk and actually follow footprints that could occasionally get cut off by somebody taking a jump or holding still in a corner, and something along those lines. I'm more actively engaged in something like that than something that's just full of mechanics that makes me overpowered. Now, being an overpowered Jason might sound like the ultimate power fantasy to you, but for me, it takes me out of the game. I feel disconnected, like I don't need to be paying as much attention as I would in something like Rainbow Six Siege or in Call of Duty. You might be saying, then boom, this isn't about all of that work that you're talking about. This is about a power fantasy, so don't even talk about this. Yeah, sure, it's a power fantasy, but I don't feel powerful. I feel bored. I feel powerful when I overcome something. I feel powerful when I use my wits and my skill and my timing and my map awareness to take somebody down, not a set of mechanics that basically just give me free kills on incredibly nerfed counselors. Now, the counselors in this game are a whole different bag of Cheetos. Restricted stamina, heavy breathing even when hiding, and an unnecessary list of stats like, oh, this guy has 5 composure, which means he might not be quiet when you're hiding, and it's harder to hold your breath when you're in the tent and you're trying not to be seen by the Jason. This person's faster, this person's more intelligent. Like, it's really unnecessary. It makes the game somehow less believable and less immersive. I don't like to use the words in real life, but in real life, if I'm being chased by a psychopath with an axe, I'm not going to constantly run out of breath and make whimpering noises. There are 3 times in my life where I had very serious moments that relied on composure and speed. 2 things I didn't lack in those moments because that's how adrenaline works. If I'm playing an asymmetrical game where there's one person with a lot of lethal power and me and my friends just have to run from them, I'd rather not be nerfed into oblivion. Even playing the more balanced character with a good set of perks in this game feels weak and uninteresting. Jason can place down traps that injure you, he can throw knives into you that slow you down. And once you're slowed down, you just have to take it. Now obviously if you play this game with an entire full team, and they're all working together and you're coordinating, then Jason might not stand a chance. But on an individual to individual basis, I don't have control over the situation, and that just makes me feel cheated in a lot of ways. When I was Jason going up against 2 of my friends so they could even help each other, it was still not that hard to get the upper hand on them, whether with my abilities or just Jason's raw strength. But here's where I talk about the game mechanics again. I believe that game mechanics in this type of horror setting where you're being chased by a slasher, the subtle things are what matter most in horror. And if you're the one doing the spooky stabby, at least for me, I don't feel any satisfaction from being given kills through bullshit mechanics that just make the other players feel cheated. They might add scary moments and you might have fun with your friends while playing with them, but if you really think about the mechanics, they're just kind of handing you those kills. You're not learning the play space, you're not using the foliage and the trees to your advantage, you're not making sure your footsteps aren't too loud, you're not making sure you're prone when they come into the room so that they don't see you in the dark corner. You're turning on your sense ability so you can see them through walls, and then you teleport in front of them by using the map. It's difficult for them to fight back, both because of the way the counselors are made and the controls and clunkiness of the game. And I think deep down when they die from you, they don't feel like they were hunted, they felt like they were cheated. They felt like, oh well, you're just overpowered, that's how the game goes. And let me toss you 2 more cents here. I love Friday the 13th's subtle things. Turning off power generators, setting little traps under piles of leaves as Jason, busting windows for scare factor, locking doors so he can't come in, being able to hide under a bed. Those types of things are fun and subtle, but they have all these unnecessary things stacked on top of them. I think laying under a bed or hiding in a tent should make you completely quiet and invisible to his sensibility, and you should just make no noise. That way Jason would actually be encouraged to check under beds instead of just going, nope, this building isn't red, no one's in here. And honestly, that's why I'm excited to play the night mode in private matches for a type of slasher game mode in Modern Warfare, because the subtle things will be important. Again, the sound of your footsteps, when do you activate the Dead Silence field upgrade or not, opening and closing doors, using the heartbeat sensor to seek people out. Those things are subtle and fun and create for interesting moments without just taking over the entire game. And it'll be in a game which gives you more mobility by default. It gives you more mobility and versatility. You'll die because of your decisions, not your stamina bar. You'll die because you didn't pay attention, not because the person was able to teleport behind you. This video went a bit longer than I expected, but let me just summarize everything I'm saying here. Friday the 13th is an interesting game and it can be fun to play with your friends, but it doesn't give me what I want from a game where I'm hunting down my friends or being hunted by one of my friends. Subtle things to me are always more interesting and scary than big boisterous things. It's more satisfying in my opinion to throw a frag grenade onto a B flag in Call of Duty and kill 4 people than it is to run in with a gravity spike and nail the B flag and kill 4 people. One's a game mechanic that's there to do that, and the other one requires a little bit, get the right arc on it, and you gotta, cook it just right, and they have the chance to throw it back back at you, you know? There's something more interesting about that. It's more involved with the players themselves, and it isn't so quick to guarantee that moment. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below, and I know it looks like I'm pushing this to the 10-minute mark, but really, I just needed a minute to summarize, I guess. Maybe I'm totally wrong, and if I'm wrong about anything in Friday the 13th, I fully will admit that I haven't played much of it, so let me know if I got anything wrong, but for the most part, this is my opinion about game mechanics and what makes something scary. So anyway, see you when I see you guys. Goodbye, I guess.